is Joy News Desk with me, Mamisi Nyamiche Thompson. Coming up, we highlight the missed maintenance schedule of the Z9 helicopter, whose crash claimed 8 lives, but investigators say that is a normal occurrence.
An operator, in this case Ghana Air Force, requested from the manufacturer an extension. And it's normal. Happens in civil flying, happens with any type of flying. The manufacturer gave a 90-day extension.
Well, we get more clarity on this in a discussion with an aircraft accident investigator and flight safety officer. Also coming up, joint police military swoop targets suspects behind attacks on anti-Galamsey team. Also, Setre Hima water treatment plant risks total shutdown as workers resort to manually shoving heavy silt from the plant's intake point, a desperate measure forced by worsening illegal mining. More in our Dear Mahama series. You want to stay for this? Don't go away. These plus some business updates on our desk. We'll be right back. Well, concerns are mounting over the missed maintenance schedule of the Z9 helicopter that crashed, killing 8 top government officials and crew members. The aircraft, built in China and operated by the Ghana Air Force, was due for servicing after 10 months in operation, but reportedly missed that schedule. Presenting the findings of the official investigation at Jubilee House yesterday, Captain Fojo revealed that the aircraft maintenance team had requested a 90-day extension, a practice he described as normal within operational limits. However, it's raising questions about safety oversight and adherence to flight maintenance protocols within the military fleet. First, let's take a listen to excerpts from the briefing yesterday.
The helicopter entered the Ghana Air Force service in May 2015, having been manufactured in 2012. And it reached its 10-year service threshold on 18th May 2025. Aircrafts have periodic checks to make sure that they're fit for service. The Air Force has 25-hour checks, 50-hour checks, and 100-hour checks. The 10-year check for the helicopter is what was mandated for this helicopter. Now, as is usual, an operator, in this case Ghana Air Force, requested from the manufacturer an extension. And it's normal. Happens in civil flying, happens with any type of flying. The manufacturer gave a 90-day extension to 18th August 2025. And basically, the helicopter met all the basic safety requirements. That notwithstanding, it sort of clashed, it sort of met a 100-hour check. So the Air Force also did a 100-hour check on the helicopter before the flight. The aircraft on the day was declared serviceable and duly signed off by both the engineers and the captain. The flight data report indicates that the helicopter was in good working condition. The helicopter, however, did not have some avionic safety enhancements. As I said before, the aircraft was serviceable and airworthy. The additional safety equipment that the helicopter did not have were things like the helicopter terrain awareness system or the enhanced ground proximity warning system, as you may choose, advanced navigation with terrain mapping, an automatic flight control system. And I would say that these safety equipment would have enhanced situational awareness. For instance, it didn't have an autopilot. That's advanced.
Well, joining me in studio on more of this is Head of Research here at Joy News, Isaac Kofi-Adjei, to break down this for us. And he's with me. Also joining us on Zoom is an expert on this, is Captain Anderson, and we'll be talking to Captain Anderson much later. But let's start with you, Kofi. Beyond this 90-day extension that GAF, took from China, there were key equipment missing from this aircraft. Exactly what were these?
So, in fact, yesterday, based on the report that was put up by the investigative board, there were 3 important safety equipment that were missing from the Z9 helicopter that unfortunately, crashed, and then we had 8 people losing their lives.
Right.
The first one was the terrain awareness and warning system. According to the investigative report, the Z9 did not have terrain awareness, and warning system. This simply means that the aircraft that crashed had no, alerts system that will alert the pilot that you are approaching, a certain terrain that is so high, an obstacle, maybe a mountain or something like that. There was no warning. In fact, if you look at the impact, if you don't have the terrain, awareness and warning system, it means that there will be no warning before any impact, right? So it means that the pilot did not have access to this. So there was no alert that was sent to him that maybe you are approaching a mountain or a ridge that is as high as 1,300 feet.
Right.
That system was absent. And in fact, if you are talking about another feature, which is also very, very important, the automatic flight control system, what does this do? It actually reduces the pilot's workload and stabilizes the aircraft. So it simply means that high manual workload, less focus on situational awareness. It simply means that this will allow the aircraft to do certain automatic, functions whilst the pilots get the chance to assess the situation. The current, the Z9 that got crashed did not have this kind of feature, and that was also captured in the report. There was also no advanced navigation with terrain mapping. It means that the pilot will lack real-time terrain visibility. And you heard there yesterday from the report that just few seconds after they had reported that they were seeing, high grounds, they lost them on the radar and the crash, happened. That would mean that they only knew the weather in Accra, the situation of the weather in Accra, in Kumasi, and Obuasi. But the route, which takes about 15 minutes for them to the Linkley Sports Stadium, they didn't have real-time updates on the situation of the weather, the visibility, and all of that. That was also missing. So these 3 key features were missing.
At that point, when they didn't have access to that information was when they were off the radar.
Well, according to the report, few seconds after they had sent in this, information that they were seeing high ground, few seconds after was when the crash actually, happened. And in fact, that will tell you that, they, just like the report is putting it, there was no automatic navigation, advanced automatic navigation for terrain mapping. It means even if you are approaching a mountain, a mountainous area, you need to use your physical, you need to assess the situation physically. There's no advanced technology on board to tell you that this is the terrain of the place you are, there's a mountain that is as high as this, there's a low ground that is... All of these features were not available to the pilot. And so it means that everything had to be done manually. So just when he had relayed that information to headquarters that, well, I'm approaching a very high ground, that was when they lost access, and that was when the crash actually, happened, Mamisi.
Right. Thank you very much, Kofi, for that update. Well, joining us now is an expert on this. He's Captain Nathaniel Kojo Anderson, helicopter pilot. He's also board member for Ghana Civil Aviation and an aircraft accident investigator and flight safety officer. We're grateful, Mr. Anderson, Captain Anderson, I beg your pardon, for joining us on our decks. First of all, we're hearing about this, from the Captain Fojo. We're also hearing details about missing or equipment that missing equipment on this flight. You've flown for more than 20 years. I mean, at least 11 years in the Ghana Air Force, then a civilian helicopter pilot as well. Looking at these equipment that were missing, if they were present from the mind frame of a pilot, could it have averted or helped in any way?
Thank you very much, and good morning. Yes, it definitely would have made a lot of difference. If I listened, the report as I listened to it said that they were changing altitudes to maintain visual reference. And it said that at the point when the downdraft, whatever finally brought it down, came up, they were probably in clouds, which means that they didn't have the ability to see anything ahead of them or around them. Now, be it as these equipments are meant to give you visual reference that you cannot see with your eyes, but with the help of equipment, definitely it would have made a lot of difference, and it would have helped the crew have a better situational awareness of where they were, what was ahead of them, and what they were going to encounter. Yes.
Well, there's so many jargons and technical terms here. Let's try and understand. When you find yourself in a hazy atmosphere, like what happened in the accident, where the clouds are quite low, and it causes what causes a downdraft? We would like to understand that.
So let me start with this statement that I have learned. I picked it up when I was a young pilot, that there are bold pilots, there are old pilots, but there are no bold and old pilots. Then now let me try and see if I can explain downdrafts. Now, the air as it moves on the surface of the earth meets obstacles. So your building, that tree, if the air is strong enough to uproot the tree from its course, it will uproot the tree. If it's strong enough to remove the roofing sheets of your building, it will remove. If it is not able to, it will try and then go over it. Let's look at it this way, where the air that started wants to meet at the same time. So the one that is going over the building will have to move a little faster than the one that is going by it, so that they all meet back at the same time and continue where they are going. That when it comes up to go over the building and it's coming down to meet the ones that are down there, will cause downdrafts. Again, the earth is heated from below. So when you have had the sun shining on the earth and the earth starts heating up, hot air rises. So the hot air will try to rise up into the sky. Now, as it meets the cold air in the sky, the cold air will also want to sink down. So the cold air also will also come down. In the middle of a thunderstorm, when it has gotten to the mature stage, what you have is a lot of downdrafts and updrafts. That is the heated air trying to come up and the cold air trying to come down. And that is the phenomenon that creates the downdrafts and the updrafts in the atmosphere, yes.
So in this situation, the one of causes of the accident is it the pressure of that atmosphere that pushes the craft down, or the operator in the aircraft is the one that goes down?
So if we take the weather that was forecasted at the time, they were not. I'm not seeing thunderstorms. I'm not seeing the sun that had come up to create a heating environment where hot air was rising and cold air was coming down. What I can think about is where a mass of air moving over the mountain ridges will cause the air to rise as it comes over the hills and then descend as it goes to the lower side of the hill. So that is what I can suspect could cause the downdrafts in this particular scenario.
All right. Now, let's look at the maintenance situation. At least we heard from Captain Fojo explaining that there was a 10-month maintenance schedule for this aircraft, but that didn't happen. And then there was an extension of a 90-day period request. Is this normal? Should it be normal?
It is normal. It happens all the time. Is it something that you want to encourage and always go for extensions? No. Every operator would like to make sure that they meet the schedules and then get it done out of the way, because then you have another 10-year lifespan where you can reduce the number of checks that you have to do on base. So let me try, if I have the time, to explain. There are some checks that can be done at the base where we have technicians who have the expertise to do those checks at that level. So they will do what they could. They will do their 25-hour check. They will do their 50-hour check. They will do their 100-hour check. And then the 10-year check means that probably goes back to the manufacturer for him to look at other components that the base field, or the field engineers probably would not be required or expected to inspect. Normally, when you ask for an extension, they will grant you the permission to check other things that they would have an initial checks on those things to make sure that they are within limits, they are within tolerance. And once you send back that report to them, then they will go ahead and then allow you to fly for a certain period of time and then bring it back to them for them to do the thorough check that is required. It doesn't necessarily mean that the aircraft is not airworthy. It just means that some checks will have to be done on the aircraft. So yes, it is an industry practice where the manufacturers know that for operational reasons, you may not be able to bring the aircraft at the exact time. So depending on the type of check, there is a percentage of tolerance or tolerance that will be given. So for example, if it was a 100-hour check, you can get, let's say, 10%, which is 10 hours additional flights that you can do, after which you now are mandatorily requested or required to do the necessary checks. So as long as within the manufacturer's own tolerance limits, that is based on the equipment that they have put in the aircraft, that they know that they can survive after 10 years for an additional 3 months, when they give you that clearance that you can continue to fly it, yes, you can continue to fly it. And it is an airworthy aircraft and very safe at that point.
But what really informs the decision to extend the maintenance schedule? I mean, for the manufacturer, he believes that he's giving you a certain time frame to operate. And so a 10-month period, you should be able to go back and check if everything is fine. And then you even go ahead to ask for an extension, which you say is normal. But really, what informs that decision not to go for another upgrade or maintenance?
Operational reasons. And operational reasons can come from crew availability. It can come from money. It can come from other aircraft's availability to come and step in whilst you send the aircraft out for servicing. So there will be a lot of reasons that will make. For example, if you were to fly that aircraft to the manufacturer, and then there is an impending weather within the region, there are some airspaces that have been closed within the region, and so you have to keep the aircraft. The manufacturers know that the aircrafts are there to give you either money or to let you satisfy some operational concerns. And the dream and the aim is not to get an aircraft and park it. So they give those tolerance to allow for operational concerns and operational things to happen.
Possibly, I'm not saying that this could be, but if that had happened, where the aircraft would have gone for that maintenance check, could it have made any difference, in your opinion?
No, not at all. Based on the fact mentioned, detailed by the investigative team, that wouldn't have made any difference at all, because, like they said, it was a perfectly flying aircraft that went down.
Right, but you've also listened to that report that we all had yesterday. Were there any loopholes that you'd like to point out?
I will not call them loopholes, but then I will. I respect the senior officers that were involved in this accident investigation. I have worked with Air Commodore Akron, for instance, on an accident investigation before, so I know that they did a thorough job, and the report is what actually happened. There were some jargons or terms in the aviation world for aviation safety that we were hoping to have heard, and that is with what we call control flight into terrain. And my reason for bringing that up is to just alert all of us in the aviation world, especially helicopter pilots, that there are some weather phenomena that you don't try to get in when you when you're not having an autopilot system, for example, because you control a perfectly flying aircraft into the terrain. The downdrafts, as we are hearing now, unless the weather was very windy, very stormy, and you could expect a downdraft of up to 1,000 feet per minute or 1,000 feet per second, then you wouldn't have crashed down if you had kept the right clearance from the high mountains that they were flying over. So we expected to hear something like a CFIT, which is control flight into terrain, which is something that we have to drum down and then bring it up to the aviation world and my fellow colleague helicopter pilots to know that what happened was a CFIT, and all of us are to be minded of it. Unfortunately, in the little history that I have read, the ones that I've experienced, this is probably about the third time that Air Force helicopter pilot has gone down in those range mountains from Etiwa up to Obuasi now. And if you read what happened, almost all of them happened as a result of crew flying into marginal weather or bad weather, losing situational awareness, and probably hitting the mountain. So that is what, talking to colleagues and people who have called, we wanted to have that one drummed down. It doesn't put blame on the crew because the whole idea of them getting up in the morning when the weather was marginal is probably where the decision not to have gone for the flight should have come from. And my heart goes, I wish them, the best of rest wherever they are. I know that they wanted the best, but they should have just said no on that morning and shouldn't have found themselves in that scenario in the first place.
Well, talking about the weather, let me ask you, is it appropriate to clear the pilots to fly when they only knew the weather condition for Accra, Kumasi, and then Obuasi?
So I did an interview last time, and I said that is the pain, that is the problem that we have as helicopter pilots. And I proudly say that flying helicopters is more difficult than flying first wing. And if you meet a helicopter pilot, he has a lot of things that he does, a lot of decisions that he takes on his own without any assistance. So you will get the weather for Accra, you will get the weather for Kumasi, and if you're flying on Passion Air, there will be somebody at the airport to direct you in, guide you in their equipment, their systems, instruments, and everything to make sure that you have a safe landing when you land in Kumasi. But it's never the same for the helicopter pilot when he has to land at Lenkley Stadium. Now, just to even add, assuming Lenkley Stadium was the final destination, and these downdrafts that we are talking about, it was that pronounced in that area, landing in that pool, that is the stadium hole, would have meant that the air even in that stadium would have been turbulent as well. And there was nobody there to have told him that this is what is going to happen. So helicopter pilots, we get there, we assess the situation, and then we take the go, no go decision. And sometimes, depending on the pressure that is on you, you will get there and probably do something that may end up bringing you to the sad story that we have right now. So yes, we also do interpolation where you look at the weather that you had. And I'm sure that the weather they had from Obuasi was from an eyewitness report and not from licensed or a trained Met officer. So you are basically guessing what you are being told, and then you are hoping that when you get there, it will be what it actually is. Most of the time, the people that you are calling are the very people who are expecting the passengers that you are bringing. So they are going to tell you, oh, the weather is fine. We can see everything. Please come. Because we are waiting for the big man. And then you get there only to find out that, well, they just wanted to bring you in. And then the person going to be like, oh, my friend, he says that the place is fine. So let's go. And you have to get there to assess and decide whether you can make it or not. And that is what causes a lot of accidents in the helicopter world.
So as a pilot, if you're confronted with this, do you have the right to say, no, I'm not going to fly because I'm not sure of the weather situation up there?
At any point in time. In fact, the interesting part is that if they give you the pressure to fly on the ground, you can. You just take off. And then when you get, and then you see the clouds, and then you show the passengers that this is the clouds, I can't see ahead anymore, so we are returning to base. 90% of the time, we've had passengers who will clap when you come back to base and tell them that we all saw it, the weather is bad, we couldn't do it. You can also refuse the flight on ground. But there is something that we call enhanced operational control, which I am hoping and praying that we'll be able to institute that in the Air Force, to help young pilots and then actually captains who will probably be under the pressure of flying dignitaries and big men to make sure that they are excluded from that decision making when things are not very clear. So when the weather has dropped to a particular minimum, the decision should be taken off the captain, and then someone else higher above him, who is probably looking at a bigger picture, can take the decision on his behalf. Hopefully, these things will be part of the recommendations that were outlined in the report, and we will not have such an incident on our hands anymore.
I'm so grateful for your time this morning on Andex, and you've told us so many things that I'm sure if those who make the decisions are listening will take into consideration. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. And I have from the Bush Radio that the presidency is making efforts to get modern fleet with all the safety features that we are talking about on board, so that we will have more safe flights and more safe missions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We're grateful for your time, Captain Anderson there, and he's also a helicopter pilot. Kofi Ajay, I'm sure you've been hearing so much.
Yeah.
And this informing the initial information that you've had, and we've also been talking about. Anything to add before you?
Well, so the ability to say no is very important. Captain said it. Well,
Indeed.
Based on the conditions that you have, ability to say no, and the pilot's decision. You are entering a terrain that visibility is difficult. I mean, I don't want to say certain things, but the decision of the pilot is also very, very important.
In the
that I'm
life
returning,
of the pilot,
right?
is also
Yeah,
quite
and
important.
and ability to say that based on the available information, I'm not going to fly, and because I do not have adequate and sufficient information,
On the
I can't take this decision and go ahead to fly. I think that's also very important. When that is instituted, that's also help in safe flights that we have in the country.
Thank you so much, Kofi Ajay. He's head of our research desk here at Joy News. Well, moving on, the Ghana Armed Forces and the Police Service have launched simultaneous joint operations across the Ashanti, Volta and Ava regions, targeting suspects behind recent attacks on members of the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat and other state officials. Now, the dawn swoops, which began today, November 12, are taking place in Dadjani and Awana in the Ashanti region, Ehi in the Volta region, and Shidiem, Kenya, Segwoso, and Maheni in the Ahafo region. A joint statement signed by Captain Veronica Jo Ahin described the exercise as targeted and intelligence-led, warning that anyone obstructing the work of security officers in ongoing anti-Galamsey operations will face the full force of the law. The armed forces and police have assured residents of their safety and commended civil society groups, the media and individuals for condemning the attacks, describing such support as vital to the national fight against illegal mining. Well, still on illegal mining, the Setre Himan water treatment plant in the central region is on the brink of total shutdown, choked by heavy silt that's crippling operations and causing acute water shortages across parts of the region. Workers now spend hours each day manually shoving thick mud barely 20 meters from the plant's raw water intake on the River Pra. But what Galamsey activities upstream worsening the silt and turbidity levels, the Setre Himan Waterworks or Headworks is fast losing the battle. Emmanuel Juveni has more in this report.
Young men soaked in muddy water, pushing and shoving heavy silt away just to let a trickle of raw water reach the intake pipes of the Setre Himan water treatment plant. What should be an occasional maintenance has now become a daily battle, a fight for a river that is slowly dying. The River Pra, once clear and life-giving, is now thick with mud from illegal mining upstream. Each day, the workers here shovel away tons of silt, work meant to be done every few months, now repeated almost every single day. Without their efforts, the plant cannot draw enough raw water to treat, and communities downstream would wake up to dry taps.
yele bread do. As the Baman Zaman Hinala, your fonto mamma, and a yellow little children. A porto, your porto, Elmina people, you are suffering from water. Please.
Na bampo so kasa duwe mposi wa enye nde no chene na be ma ana pem dware me dware ahomache me exercise nti me dware me exercise wi an me dware ti am ampa no pem dware.
As the intake points chokes, entire towns are feeling the impact. From Cape Coast to Commander, Elmina and beyond, homes are running dry.
Central region yellow bread do. Since she oba, nke hunda nkolaba. And then Sunaba, Bokite Basa Bokitana, no waiter. Bokite bien, no waiter. For 4 gallons simple was a waiter, no waiter, so waiter man. And then Ebasa, a bien, equal, ye bien. No, why ye
For residents like Kofi Tichi, the River Pra is a painful memory.
I will was first night you are near Numpana and Naban City. In fact, I have a hope. This is young Labandia. You didn't mean we be a man.
Kofi recalls when illegal miners tried to dig just meters away from the Setrahiman treatment plant. The community chased them away, but their victory was short-lived. The river never recovered from the pollution miles away in the western region.
I say, upon me now, first day, not on we be shy day. Upon my own baby and the baby. Oh, no, you should stand at dinner or down. That was shy upon me now.
First in shin na me ba ha mum de na anya sanate. Na ni kura jin. Sabe nam kura na ma yehu. Atwa ye ne nkola yetum tire adware beba na ade na de. Tani aye no untumi. I was say yedu ha yetumi nsukom na yetumi numbi. Yetumi asabi kwasifia ade abeto na ya fine ya no. Na wudu ha nsukom na wuntumi numbi. Wuntumi ense ndware. Ense unuama kula. Fasi ya disi nuama. Ya bia ya wa kola mpa ya disi so ya noa. Na ya sonso. Na agina kola na ya di amano.
Mekwa foma, mde mtumi nu. Nsuo ni bi 50% to mpa mtumi na fama ade. Ntuma ade se me wika kai na nsuo ni asesa.
Water West phone soon, dear. My trantra be 1 year or 2 years in a dear. Yanny being sour, ya one of that. Yeah, Yanny being sour, a Numa now, Nana Boy. Apart from Numa, the Water West in soon, dear. Yanny being sour, ya one. Until a band son, I will buy her bem near dear. Because of the course, known to mean torn, Nubian son, as I say, who could feel saying you a band and my expenses near more. And to say about farms are nine, like in sweat that when I've been Benny Adiano.
For many, the only affordable source is untreated groundwater. Unsafe, yet the only option left.
Yes, I check him water planting, a bay, yenny a very cruise. But almost saying sooner, almost treated the Mayan. A plan and a Scasia, a beom, moody treaty at the Maya. But as some more yen shoes with Jumani Adiano, I got him for more yen shoes with my name say, or we used to say unity now, may I say. And the Amaya Diamoma, in soon as we've been to me and so yes.
Officials at the treatment plants declined to speak on camera. Workers, too, fearful of sanctions, would not talk. But their silence speaks volumes.
It is becoming a constant battle in getting raw water for this treatment plant in order to feed the thousands of homes in its catchment area. They are calling for urgent action to stop the illegal mining.
Until then,
they fear the worst.
The story of Setrahiman treatment plant goes beyond a local crisis. It is Ghana's reflection in muddy water, a nation watching its rivers die, and with them, its future. If we fail to protect the Pra, Ayensu, and Cobra, and Dolphin, we fail to protect ourselves and our future. Emmanuel Jivenu, Joy News, Setra Himan, Central Region.
Well, the Anti-Galamsey Task Force of the National Concerned Small-Scale Miners Association has destroyed over 100 Chamfan machines operating in 5 mining communities and in Ofin in the Echua and Poma district of the Ashanti region. The recent operation is part of a self-policing drive by the association to militate against illegal mining among its members.
The River Ofin has over the years lost its natural turbidity, turning milky sludge. The pollution is primarily stemming from the large operations of illegal miners on the river. The Anti-Galamsey Task Force combed illegal mining infested communities in the Echimamponia district, including Adiemra, Bontomroso, Adobera, Anyamwa, and in Tobroso. The team, equipped with speedboats, is tracking down illegal miners on the River Ofin. During the operation, the illegal miners abandoned their Chamfan floating boats, which were subsequently destroyed. Michael Kwajopepra is the president of the Concerned Small-Scale Miners Association.
We were able to destroy over 100 of Chamfan machines that is being used to dredge our various river bodies. In so doing, we can all see the ripple effect on the color of the river, and communities are always complaining about the destruction of the various water bodies. So anytime that we go, sometimes they are the people who give us this information and they lead us to where these criminals are. So we don't face any challenges or any frustrations when we go to the various communities.
The boats are used by the illegal miners to dig for gold, consequently degrading and polluting the river's quality. Community members are worried at the spate of the illegality on what was once their water drinking source. We always sack them, but they always come back. We are pleased with the works of the Anti-Galamsey Task Force. The association says it is committed to complementing the government's fight against illegal mining on rivers. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
The ancestors of Yogo, a small community in the northern region 3 decades ago, forbade anyone from cutting down trees. But guess what? This is not to punish community members, but a move to nurture and an attempt to fight climate change. James Aveji tells a story of how this custom of the ancestors does not inflict pain, but brings relief to its people in today's Climate Focus series.
Here in Uorgu, these drum beats are not just arts. They are performances that carry the soul of a community that is united in belief, spirituality, and shared values. A community that is resolved to fight one common enemy, drought and climate change, through the birth of a decree that forbids anyone from cutting down a tree. Chief Butcher Nakuhana Idrisu tells the story of a 12-acre Mautiti forest, commonly translated as "do good things for us," through his interpreter who doubles as assembly member for the area, Honorable Yakubu Idrisu.
Deforestation has been patching in up to the level that for 37 years back, they decided that now that the deforestation is catching in to this our area, we have to protect the remaining forests. We have to reserve it for some purposes. Then, for 37 years back, we began to protect these forests. And there are rules that nobody should cut any plant within this area.
The decree does not only preserve the place against encroachers and serving as a pasture for animals during drought, but also make it a sacred place to commune with the ancestors.
This area, it also serves as the secret place, as we mentioned, where we communicate to our ancestors, and anybody who make attempts to cut down any plant here, the person will get unexpected sickness or even accident.
Beyond this, however, I am curious to know what evil may befall someone who defies this decree. The Amagajia of the area and herbalist, Adisa Al-Hassan, has an answer.
If you are recalcitrantly come here to cut down the tree just to see for yourself what they said that they don't cut down trees here, then it may happen that you had a snake bite. And if you had a snake bite, unless you come and they apologize to the ancestors, you will never get survive. You will never be survived. It may happen that you just get unexpected accident. Already accident is not expected, but you get an accident that you cannot be treated.
But has there really been any living proof of such calamity befalling someone who defied the orders of the ancestors?
One of our sister who came here and fell down a tree, and that tree, that same tree, when it was about to fall down, it fell on the woman's waist and broke the waist. And at the end of the day, that woman became a mad woman. She's no more. So it has happened already.
In an attempt to augment the efforts of the Uarugu community, the Global Landscape Forum stepped in to plant an acre of teak trees through the Regional Advisory Information Network Systems RAINS initiative. Member of the GLFX Tamale team, Kamal Mohammed, said they are exploring how to expand this project by planting more economic viable trees into forests.
Going into the future, we have come across different tree species that we can promote. For example, I was discussing with the team from GLF that it's important for us to try to see how we can promote the share tree. That is a wild tree that has been propagated or grown around here. We can replicate that in these communities that we work in.
Beyond this, the community has a challenge: how to physically protect what they have, and a dream to replicate the Mautiti forest at various locations to tackle climate change effect.
We would like to expand these forests, but our problem is the protection now, because nowadays the animals roam around here rampantly, and then when you plant a trees, small trees, the animal will use to graze on them. So we need some protection, maybe a garden, a wire fence to guard it. Then for watering, we can do the watering. We can do all the practices that will make these trees survive.
But for now, a community of about 500 dwellers who mainly survive through sorghum, maize, millet, and of course share farming are holding on firmly to the decree of the ancestors forbidding anyone from cutting a tree in Mautiti Forest, a move aimed at preserving the little nature has gifted them and to fight climate change, a tree at a time. For Joy News, James Savaji, Uarugu, Tamale, Northern Region.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
You're still watching Joy News Desk. We'll be back with business after this break. Yeah, Michelle, what do we have in business?
Hi, so let's do our business stories. Now that TDC Ghana Limited has intensified its debt recovery operation aimed at reclaiming millions of cedis owed by companies occupying its lands. Now, Managing Director of TDC Ghana Limited, Courage Nunepeku, says the exercise targets both public and private institutions in Tema that have failed to renew their leases or pay ground rents for years. Kwame Yanka has more.
2 weeks into its debt recovery drive, the TDC Ghana Limited is taking firm steps to retrieve outstanding payments from defaulting companies. Management explains the initiative is meant to recover over 600 million Ghana cedis owed to the TDC, funds crucial for ongoing development. At the premises of the Tema Oil Refinery, officials engaged management over expired leases and accumulated ground rent. TDC maintains the land remains its property until all financial obligations are settled. Here is Managing Director of TDC Ghana Limited, Courage Nunepeku.
The last time we embarked on this one, we told you people are owing TDC in excess of 600 million Ghana cedis. So we decided as a management and the board to embark on this exercise to retrieve and rake in the necessary money. So today is another phase of it that we are, embarking on this. We have major companies like Tor. We are conducting this, interview in the premises of Tor. We have reminded them severally their lease have expired. Not only ground rent, their lease have expired. So technically, where we are standing is a TDC land. It doesn't belong to Tor, if you want to say it rightly. Same Vaco and many companies. You have been with us right from the day. We've been to some of the companies, we've locked them up, and we are going to conduct, making sure that they make payment before we can open for them. So we are midway into the exercise, and we are now at Tor to engage the management to see how best they can also, redeem their promises by paying us. Yeah.
Similar engagements have been held with other institutions, including Volta Aluminium Company Limited, VACO, where discussions are ongoing to find practical payment arrangements. Courage Nunepeku emphasized that while they understand the operational challenges facing some state enterprises, all tenants must meet their commitment to sustain national development after locking up some tenants.
All those who are owing TDC ground rent, your lease have expired, you've not paid. Please just do the right thing. Come and pay. If you do not come, we will come after you. And the penalties you pay before we can open up the place for you. You were with us. You saw that we locked up a lot of shops today. Exercise will continue. No matter who you are, what you are doing in that premises, you have an obligation to pay to the state what is due the state. It's a statutory obligation. So please, just fulfill your part and we will do our part. We are resetting this country. We need money to do that. The roads have to be constructed. The lights have to be fixed. Water must flow. You can see from January up to now, the lights have been consistent. It's not by magic. It is not by chance. It is by deliberate and intentional actions. And we need these taxis to do that. So please, all our clients, people living on our 63,000 mile square, please come and do the right thing before we come to you.
TDC Ghana Limited says revenue from the exercise will contribute to national pool in funding essential projects such as roads, lighting, water supply, among other amenities. Kwame Yanke's reports for Joy Business.
Now, the Netherlands ambassador to Ghana, Jeroen Verheul, says the Dutch government will work to further deepen trade and tourism relations with Ghana. Speaking at KLM's 65th anniversary celebration in Accra, the ambassador said their long-standing partnership between the two countries has been strengthened through decades of collaboration in aviation, business, and cultural exchange. Here is more.
At the event, the ambassador highlighted KLM's contribution to trade, tourism, and cultural exchange. Other than that, the partnership between Ghana and the Netherlands continues to grow stronger through aviation and economic cooperation.
To the Netherlands and to the world, because Schiphol is one of the airports that connects you to everywhere in the world. So it's a very important business, a very important company, and a very important air connection between Accra and Amsterdam. So that's a reason for celebration. And we should also remember that even during the difficult times, like for example during COVID, 2019, 2020, when all air traffic almost came to a halt, KLM was one of the few airlines that continue to connect Ghana to the rest of the world.
And Air France KLM's country manager for Ghana, Isabel Indeweg, says the airline's 65-year milestone in Ghana is a reflection of its long-term commitment to sustainability, innovation, and customer service.
The trust of our valued customers and the dedication of our exceptional local team. At KLM Ghana, our mission is simple: to add genuine value to every journey, every day. We listen closely to our customers, adapting our service to meet your changing needs. Over the years, we have introduced more flexible booking options, enhanced baggage allowance.
And that'll be all for business right here on Joy News Desk. I am Michelle Ejekum. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Mamiesi.
Thank you, Michelle, for business updates. That's all about now. For us on Joy News Desk, thanks for your company. We're back again tomorrow.